Medusa. The S is for soup and the G is for geek. Every time I close my eyes, I see ops when I sleep. But when I wake up, I see pussy niggas dead in the seas. Blind nigga, even Stevie Wonder could fucking smear. Louis took a trip out of town for a bankroll. He low key. All he really wanted is the pesos, a book bag. All he really for was some Dracos, an AK. If I see it, I did he take those. 2K, I take a perk on a Tuesday. Doomsday, I just do whatever fuck my moves say. Lambo, Bentley, like bitch, I want a moose.
Trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.
How do you recognize the things that are destabilizing us from unifying? How do you can you give me 3 major things that you recognize, like, okay, these things were designed specifically to keep us from getting to this goal?
I think the major part, I think, is history. I think it's the story we tell ourselves, right? We all have different versions of it. We don't have one version of history, so we got different identities.
Right.
You know, history, it shapes our psychology, how we feel about ourselves, right? We don't realize, like, diversity is this room right here, right? We look at it as diversity is white, black, Mexican. No, black men are diverse as hell, right? And we've allowed them to control too much of the narrative through our media. Media is our #1 weapon, and we have to control. It's you can't do anything else until you get the story that people believe in their head right.
Right.
We all have to believe we're going to the same place, so we taking the same instructions, going to the same direction, right? And we are part of all the same process. So we having the same conversation when we talking. We talk economics, okay, but to everybody in here, that might mean something different, right? So now we got to get to a baseline for you understand the same history. Now we understand the same language.
Right.
In a conversation, you have to establish a baseline to make sure y'all talking about the same thing. Otherwise, y'all talking to each other, but y'all talking about completely 2 different things, and then y'all start arguing and can't figure it out. And most of the time, that's the simple thing. So for me, it's the media piece that is the most important one in the world. But how do you fix that? There's a lot of conversations got to happen behind the scenes, right? #1. But I'll give a general one is the fact that you got a platform, I got one, right? You got the Joe Buttons out there. You got Charlemagne. You got the EYLs out there, right? You got a bunch of people. They put us, they put me, Shannon Sharp, and Joe Budden on this list. And they were saying that these right-wing influencers, right? Stephen A. They put us all, it was our 3 faces on, I think it's MSNBC. And it was this Democratic Party that did this research group that essentially was trying to identify who are the influential voices, right, that can shift, right, things in a different direction. And so they said that we had right-wing talking points. But then they gave points to how do you destabilize these voices and kill their credibility so their influence wanes on their own community, right? Because obviously we gonna be disproportionately black men.
Right.
But then I'll look at that and say, okay, well, y'all telling us that we have the power, that we can literally shift this election. Roland Martin, whether you like him or not, right? He was on EYL and he was giving a breakdown of how they spent $600 million, but like less than 1% of that went to black media, right? So the Democrats lost it by themselves. They didn't respect black media enough. They tried to run a campaign against you, but instead they could have recruited you. If they would have went to, I promise you, if they would have sat down and math, we got 10 million for you right now. We need you protesting out in the streets for us.
Right.
Mav would have had the goddamn government pin on. I love Kamala shirt. You feel me? He would have slapped somebody up for it.
Now, I'll be honest with you. You know, me and Mecc disagreed on who we wanted to pick to be the next president, but yeah, Trump shot a commercial in here, so you know.
I'm gonna say this: you guys had 2 of the best RFK interviews.
Oh yeah.
You know, you 2 guys had 2 of the best, and it helped a lot in our community because both of you have influential platforms, and you know the talks behind the scenes.
Well, they ain't cutting no checks though.
They didn't cut checks, but they cut them to somebody.
All right.
So a lot of people felt like the checks were cut to certain celebrities, right?
Oh yeah.
And that is where celebrity influence kind of showed
That it's
everyone
lacking.
that they were.
Well, they don't have the
weren't
power because they don't have
trusted.
connection.
Well,
The
no,
celebrities don't have connection to community.
right.
A person, okay, so you go get Denzel Washington. It seems like Denzel Washington is a goddamn GOAT. But you're not listening to Denzel as much as you listen to Math. He's having political conversations that you agree with.
And-
So I'm more connected to his opinion than I ever would be Denzel.
But besides that, we live in a climate where we kind of demonize celebrities. So why would we listen to them now?
Another thing,
It didn't,
like,
it didn't make sense to
it
me.
was-
When I seen people
they didn't
popping up
understand
on
the
stage, it
playbook.
was like, okay, what do you, we think these people was at the Diddy party. Like,
Right.
why we, why
Right.
you
Got the
using
whole
it?
list.
Right.
You know what I'm
It said
saying?
pay
Like, made no sense. But I want to get back to, all right, so history. You said history is very important. It's,
Yeah. So
confusing our history.
right, the media of the history, like history and media, I would say is the top. Media is the number one, right? Then you got education.
Right.
Education shapes who we are, right? What we know, how we see ourselves, how we informed about the world. All of us have a different education, right? If we had one single education, right, to where we was all learning the same things. I can go on average man on the street been studying Black History Month his whole life. And I give him a breakdown about the Seminole Wars or Elijah Muhammad Network. He might not know nothing about it, but he considers himself highly educated in history. Why wouldn't you know this if these are like these are not like small things that you can brush off. If I did I was utilizing AI to do this, like, what would the world be if Elijah Muhammad never existed? Right? It's a branch that just takes so many things away. Right? The effect that it had on hip hop, religion, politics, economics. I mean, it's countless, right? But take away from the religious aspect, let's look at this as a economic builder, as an entrepreneur, right? We have so many issues with our ancestors that we just pick one or the other. Bro, white people don't care about none of that. This man literally, their ancestors could own slaves and wear them, you feel me, as purses, and they still big them up because they know to learn from the past. We think that we got to pick and choose based on emotions. That's not how it works.
No, actually, I think there is an issue because we spoke about this, I think, privately with the Ancestry.com and how important it was when you were when you visited South Africa and you stood in the cells and you felt like overwhelmed emotionally from knowing the story of it. Yeah. So you doing the push-ups.
They ain't like that,
But I'm like, don't fall, nigga, don't fall. Right? But how important is it for Black Americans to just even do Ancestry.com? Because a lot of us can't really trace our lineage back past grandma and grandpa.
I say it's more so about genealogy than it is the Ancestry.coms, because I actually don't think it's important at all. Genealogy of like knowing your family roots for the last 500 years.
Right.
You go look at your DNA, that's who you are. That's your real story, right? All of your grandparents, great-great-great-great-grandparents, all the experience make you who you are. You get in a percentage of them each time you go down there until it gets to a point where it's like, by the time you go all the way back to Africa or somewhere, that's not who you are.
Right.
But you don't know if your grandpa was fighting in the Seminole Wars as a warrior. You don't know if he was taking enemy ships. You don't know if he was an inventor, creating things. My great-grandfather was a real estate agent who helped fund the case, right, to end racist covenants in America. My great aunt, she was the one that helped on the case with Thurgood Marshall and the reason why you can buy houses in any neighborhood that you want to. When I study stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I had ancestors who put their money where their mind was. You feel me? My great aunt was the first Black woman in the NAACP chairwoman, right? But then she got kicked out because she was older than them. She didn't like how they was using the money. You feel me? That shows me connection. You feel me? Right. That's way more important to me than go looking at some DNA and some haploid groups that I might have a connection to with similar phenotypes. Right. That ain't got nothing to do with what's actually in my blood that shapes me of who I am and my consciousness.
Well, again, I want to spin back because, all right, so when I was younger, I came to a point in my life where spiritually I needed something to hold on, some sort of foundation. And, you know, I had Muslims on my block, God bodies, all that. You know, it was a whole conversation every Friday on the corners or whenever. And I identified with one of my homies who became Hebrew Israelite because I liked the way that he was moving. I knew who he was before he did that. and he was very well respected. And for him to drop everything that I know he was involved in and do this, there must be something there.
Yeah.
So when I got introduced to it, and they bring up Deuteronomy 28 in the sermon, and they tell you the story of this chosen people taken to this land, the land of the eagle, all that stuff. It kind of filled me with a different feeling, a sense of pride, because I started to identify with these great people that I've been hearing about in Sunday school forever. But that the notion of these people might have the same blood, like it gave me a sense of pride that I walked around with. Of course, I continue to educate myself, and I came to a different understanding. But at that time, it gave me a sense of pride. And I walked around with my head high and my chest out because I felt like I related to something. Now, there's a lot of fatherless children out there. There's a lot of people who don't have that. They don't have something attached to. So they're joining gangs, they're trying to associate with anything that they feel like has a community. So what answers can we give to those people?
Well, that goes back to the beauty of the storytelling. If I'm growing up in Africa, right, and I don't know my history. Let's say you're somewhere in Liberia, and I do my ancestry test, and I found out my ancestors are from America, the Black Americans, revolutionaries like Malcolm and them. I'm gonna be excited as hell.
Right.
Like, damn, they cold out there.
Right.
You feel me? I love their culture, their hip hop, their history. And I'll be excited as hell if I'm from somewhere else and I found out that I actually have the same ancestry as the Black Americans. You feel me? And how they've been fighting. Now, if you tell the story a certain way, oh, they were slaves. But if you tell it a different way, no, they was warriors, right? So you really want to have this sense of pride first, being American. Then when you go to another place, when I went out to Africa, I had a sense of pride of who I was first. Because you don't want to go over there kind of like a lost puppy, right? Looking for yourself, right? Because you're not going to get the same respect. Because when you go to Africa, it's broken up into thousands of tribes. And they have a history connected to that makes them who they are. They speak multiple different languages, right? They went up there and they disconnected those people by all these different flags, right? But each one of those have a story behind that. And you have the same story. Like we've been, Ghana is a young country. Nigeria is a young country, right? Liberia comes from slaves escaping, going back and building out what they built over there. And this is why I'm saying the sense of pride you got to have in being a Black man in America, right, is key. A copper-colored person in America, we've been cold. I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to be a part of nothing else. You feel me? I've been to South Africa. I've been to the Apartheid Museum, right? Winnie Mandela was a cold revolutionary. Right. She wanted to destroy everything. That's why they had to get her out the way and get Mandela up there, right? There was a revolution in Soweto. When you go out there, I respect any people that have a revolutionary fighting spirit. You feel me? I love the story of the Dogu charting the stars, and they was a cosmic people. Right. I love the story of ancient Kemet, how they utilized astronomy to be able to map and do agriculture and build their civilization. I love the ancient Egyptians, but I don't think they got shit on us. I don't think they invented, I don't think they've been through the same level of resilience. That pride that I have in like being me, you feel me? When I look at a orator like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would love to be able to call 1 million people, and you got other kings from other places trying to give you $1 billion because you leading your people revolutionary, right? I'd love to be Malcolm X coming from a pimp and turning his mind into one of the coldest on the planet Earth to be revered. Right. I'd love to be Marcus Garvey, you feel me? That created a parallel world to them white folks. O.W. Gurley or Booker T. Washington that had his own economy. You feel me? You a sister looking at Madam C.J. Walker and what she did. Like, we got so much in our past. David Clark, that was a free man that was writing books telling people how to be on code. You feel me? You got Frederick Douglass. He wasn't smiling in a picture because one shit funny, but he was the coldest abolitionist on the planet. You feel me? Like, we got so much history that you can just keep going on and on and on and on. And you like, bro, these got to be the coldest people that ever exist. Right. How did there was whole free men during the whole entire time of slavery at the same time. There was Black families. It's just, we have a boule that believe that they the talented 10th to rule the rest of us, and they work with the other society to keep us down, right?
Mm.
So we have to understand that our war is within. It ain't nobody else. I can't go to Ghana and become a better man, right? I have to have that within. And don't get me wrong, when I went to Ghana, it felt the safest I ever been to any place on the planet Earth. I realized that we stay in a conflict zone all day long.
Mm.
And we just wear armor everywhere we go. You got the security by the door. You got to look out. I don't know if this brother trying to rob me. What's going on?
Right.
Put the jury up. Like,
You on a swivel.
I'm out there with all this extra armor on, just like mentally and spiritually. Then I realized I don't even need all that. These people really are cool. I seen a brother walking with a whole family, and it was somebody honking the horn at him to get out the street. And he just calmly grabbed his kids and was like, let's just get out the way. Let's just move. I thought he was about to curse blood out. I said, oh, he about to whoop blood ass. He was chill. I said, in New York, you'll never see that.
Right.
You would
That's
never
a fact.
see that. It blew my mind. It was just this one moment I'm looking like, everybody involved. He wasn't even honking the horn maliciously. He was just letting them know, like, yo, you in the
behind
street.
Right.
You feel me? And I was like, these people are really chill. You feel me?
Right.
And so it wasn't that, oh, I feel the pride of being a Ghanaian. I sat down with Freedom, who's one of the top real estate brokers right in that country. He owns a lot of hotels. And we had a conversation between a Black American and an African and how we see the world and how we see ourselves and what's the possible reality, right? It was important to have those type of dialogues because then you really see that, damn, we are different people. We really are. We got a different mindset. You
Right.
feel me? And knowing that you come there with so much, the problem is that we export the wrong things about us into other countries.
Mm.
Because when we go out there, they gonna know 50 Cent before they know Malcolm X. They gonna know him before they know Farrakhan. That means we exporting hip hop and they gonna say, what's up, nigga, before they say, what's up, God. You know what I'm saying? They not gonna see you as a social movement revolutionary. They gonna see you as hip hop shows you and the movie shows you and what they can afford to know about you and see.
Right.
And even the ones up the high up, they only have that context. So this is why media is important because we're not controlling our image globally to be respected. You know what I'm saying? And you don't realize how that story shapes how they view you when you come over there. They don't see you as you. You feel me? They see you as this image that they relate to what they know about an American. Right. And so you're this stereotypical version of these Black niggas that come over here, man, y'all cool, got the chains, man. What do you do? Like, that's their relation to it. They love it, but they don't respect it in a manner to where, because they don't see it correctly.
Right.
Our history is not is not entertainment. It's revolution. That's what we've done the most out of anything in our history is revolution. But we've tricked it to make it look like, no, we just the best entertainers and just kill each other. Man, we've been fighting and innovating and building. So I just love being from this tribe. You feel me? I think that we code. And that's why I don't have an issue with anybody who has that sense of pride. Now, if you want to then do some understandings, do some trace root to go back thousands of years, I'm fine with that. But do it from a place of first self-awareness and pride. You feel me? Not that you're finding yourself. You're extending your understanding of your genetic makeup. You feel me? Because even those don't give you the direct. It says that you have DNA similar to this haploid group, right? So Nigerians have some of these same genetic markers. So you might be Nigerian. Doesn't mean you actually are.
Right.
And Nigerian is something that's new that was created. It wasn't always there. The word Ghana wasn't there when your ancestors was there. So you couldn't be that. This is a new cultural pride that they have in this idea of this new state that they have. Africa wasn't divided like it is today. So that's why you have to say, man, we've been in America longer than these countries have been around. So have pride in being who you are as an American. And it's funny because I never thought that I would say that until actually going to Africa and realizing like, bro, we really are different people.
It's a fact.
Not better, not worse, just different.
Yeah, I mean, you know, who is it? Yeah, not better or worse. I think we're better at fighting than any other people. We're better at fighting back. We're better at recognizing our enemy, right? Africa got a lot of problems from top to bottom, right? Things that they couldn't do. And unfortunately, a lot of time they looking for somebody to save them. There's a new class of Africans that's young. They got this spirit and they getting exposed to things outside what they've been taught. So they thinking outside these reflections that they elders give them. And they're like, wait a minute, I follow 19 Keyz. He be talking that talk. He told me I can do whatever I want to. Now you go and taking that mentality back to wherever you are, it changes the way you converse with other people.
Right.
So globalization is changing Africa. Africa is largely a broadband desert. They don't have the internet everywhere, right? When you go to Ghana, they're still paying, right, for data. So a lot of people can't just stream. So even that, changing that trajectory to where, you know, you got Mark Zuckerberg building a big W cord out there to Africa. Then you got Elon Musk providing the satellites. Again, it's dangerous though, because with all of the cobalt, all of the minerals, the Africans should be doing that themselves.
Right.
There's no opportunity in Africa if it's not owned by Africans. If it's a country that's, again, owned by the Chinese, owned by the French, owned by Americans, then there's no value in it. There's only value if those people become completely independent of all these ties. Now, we can do business with them if they say we want to do business, right? Because we have knowledge, we have influence, we have skill sets. It's a reason they want to bring all these black people to Dubai, right? Because you bring in billions of dollars worth of influence with you, right? Look at Kanye West, great example. When everybody was saying he's not a billionaire, I was saying, how is he not a billionaire if his influence of going to Adidas is what made him a billionaire? The only thing he was missing was the infrastructure to go direct to consumer.
Right.
So when he did the Super Bowl ad, what he did, he captured that data. Then when he told Yeezy or Adidas, stop goddamn reverting my traffic to y'all website, they stopped it. And then he said, okay, now evaluate this. How much it's worth? Right? Now I can get direct access to my community at any time, right? And I can sell them hundreds of millions of dollars at merch. How much is that worth? Because it's basically the same as saying that instead of having to deal with Adidas, I got to deal with myself and I own infrastructure. So if Kanye West goes to any country, how much is that worth? Right? It's worth billions. Right. So UAE pays him to go do something. They understand that he's converting attention, and every influencer is an economy. You might be a city. You might have 10,000 people you can influence. You might be a country. You might have 1 million people. You might be a state. You might have 100,000. At this point in time, we have to realize the power of our influence and stop giving this shit away for cheap. Because everybody needs us. I don't care who they is. Everybody needs us. But they're trying to get to a point where they no longer dependent on us.
Or they're lowballing.
Yeah, but that's because they don't want you to know your value. If we pay one of y'all too much, then all of y'all gonna want more.
All right. We're going to take a 5-minute break. But when we come back, I want to talk about the other two things that you feel like keeps us separated.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.